right, so we're going to spend a few moments talking about the image signing and image scanning service, which itself is an operator. We can kind of talk about how this project kind of unfolded over the course of the last year or so. First of all, my name is Andrew Block. I'm a senior principal consultant at Red Hat. I'm also the co-manager of the Container and PaaS Community of Practice within Red Hat. The Community of Practice program within Red Hat is a way for those who are interested in a particular area or field of interest to get together, talk about it, develop new solutions, but then most importantly, go out and share their learnings with the community, not only within Red Hat, but also in the open source community, very much like we're doing today. And
my name is Matt Bagnara. I am a senior consultant with Red Hat, and I've mostly being customer facing, we were kind of struck with some of the issues that these customers are experiencing with image scanning and signing. We'll kind of go into that in detail, but I was brought in I wanted to contribute to the community of practice in that way.
So I first want to talk about some of the background of the image signing, image scanning problem space that we were trying to solve here. First of all, we wanted to leverage a lot of the existing OpenShift ecosystem. Obviously, there's a number of third-party vendors that have image signing and image scanning solutions, but we wanted to look first to leverage the native tooling within OpenShift. And the most important thing we need to think about is, especially around the terms of security, how do we guarantee that our images are safe for use, especially the ones that our developers who are developing on OpenShift are building? How do we guarantee that they're not including either some invalid or notorious upstream images, or they're putting some dangerous libraries into their applications? The goal here is obviously to increase security within the platform and in applications, and also to mitigate vulnerability. As I mentioned previously, we need to go ahead and utilize OpenShift's native ecosystems of tools, but then this solution needs to be highly integrated into continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines that a lot of our customers work with. Very much like Matt mentioned, I work very much with different customers of all shapes and sizes, going as small as, somewhat startups to upwards of top Fortune 1, Fortune 2 companies. So we need to think about a wide range of customer use cases. So this project has evolved quite a bit over time. It first started out as what we call the image signing and image scanning project that was very much Python based. We were leveraging a tool that was developed by the Red Hat Community of Practice that basically watched for events from the OpenShift Events API. This is way before the days of the operator, lifecycle manager, operators in general, even before custom resource definitions. It reacted on changes from image and image stream events and the OpenShift API, and did leverage a number of OpenShift native tools that was leveraged by the platform, everything from OpenShift OpenSCAP scanning and the atomic scanning tools as well. Unfortunately, it did have a bit of a frail architecture, as certain events could be missed or duplicated. So we had to put some additional logic into our application, and also come with the assumption that we could end up having duplicated events, and functionality honestly really wasn't that great. So then custom resource definitions helped us get a little bit further down the road, where we were able to get away from that Python-based library and eventing model, and to leverage custom resource definitions and more of a native feel to how we were interacting with OpenShift. We were no longer going after the events API and utilizing, just straight events and triggers from that. We went ahead and started leveraging more of a native solution, where we were bringing in custom informers, shared informers, and going and taking a lot of the learnings that the upstream Kubernetes community was utilizing and using their libraries for interacting with the OpenShift API. However, there was a lot of time spent not only learning about how shared informers and the Golang libraries work, but also how do we generate the libraries for modeling our custom resource definitions. I personally probably wasted 2 or 3 weeks just learning that ecosystem. So that honestly it was two things. It was a challenge, a pain, but also a learning experience. So we were able to create a brand new repository built upon the solution, and while it worked, it was great. It still required a number of custom logic that I built, and I myself and the team built to talk to the OpenShift API and to monitor the different resources. And then really what changed the game for us was the unveiling of the operator framework last May, where we were able to now basically scrap a lot of the custom work that we had to do to interact with the OpenShift API, but also how we were modeling and creating our custom resources, the libraries that modeled those, and basically just standardize on that operator framework logic, which basically gave us the boilerplate that we needed. So I basically went ahead and eliminated about 90% of our code base, went ahead, remodeled on the OpenShift, on the operator framework, and was able to instead worry about, did I put the right logic in for interacting with the OpenShift API, and instead focus on the business problem. Focus on how I'm going to go ahead and implement image signing and image scanning instead of how am I going to talk to OpenShift API, how am I going to know about when changes occur. The framework provided that for me. All I needed to do is change my logic slightly to implement what the framework needed. And it also gave our team the ability to then be able to interact with the burgeoning community that the operator framework had. We were able to talk with others that were having some other challenges for interacting with the OpenShift API, learning some best practices, lessons learned, and that's really what we started to do, is starting interacting with the community and able to harden the support and stability of our project. So what exactly does the architecture of the image signing and image scanning service look like? So for those of you familiar with OpenShift, you're familiar with the fact that you can perform various build types on the platform. You can create images and then push those to OpenShift registry and then make use of image streams. So the first step is for a user to start a build and to have the platform build that image and push it to OpenShift integrated registry. Once it's available in the registry as an image stream, you can create a custom resource called an image signing request. Our operator is going ahead and monitoring the creation of that custom resource. When it denotes a new resource is available and created on the platform, it goes in, validates that it is a valid image stream, it exists in the registry, and then it goes ahead and creates a signing pod, and then that signing pod will go in and sign the image. It has a GPG key, because that's what the Atomic Tools leverages by default, that is automatically configured inside the cluster as a default key that can be leveraged. However, in addition, let's say a development team has their own key they want to use for their image, they can provide that as a secret within their project, and the signing pod and controller will go ahead and configure that to be used by the signing process. And then finally, once the signing process completes, it can go in and then push that updated image to the OpenShift registry for deployment time. We also provide, in addition to signing, we also use OpenSCAP scanning as well. So instead of having an image signing request, you have an image scanning request. And in a very similar process, it goes in and scans the image. Now, Matt's going to talk a little bit about how this whole ecosystem was used in a customer use case.
All right, yeah. So I typically work in an environment where security is a big concern. Just the ability to inspect and ensure that what's running is what is actually running, and to go inside and be able to inspect these container images. We don't want developers pulling in random things, writing code that introduces vulnerabilities into the baseline, and using containers in this environment is kind of new to the customer anyways. So we really want to give the security folks in this organization a warm feeling about what they're using. So what we're able to utilize in this case is some of the security scanning for runtime images. Like I said, in a production environment, you have all these containers running. We want the developers to be able to self-provision their own scanning requests for these images that they're building. It utilizes atomic scan under the scenes, but however, that's also pluggable. You can substitute different scanning mechanisms, and we know there's a number of tools out there, but this is primarily focusing on the OpenShift suite of tools available. Security folks also want to ensure container image provenance. So having this chain of custody through the form of digital signatures is key. So something that gets deployed into production, we want to be able to trace that signature back to when it was built, match those up, and say, yes, this is the same artifact that was built in the dev environment, then that is being deployed in production. And then finally, for production deployment, security organizations can enforce these image scans. So they can initiate an image scan, and upon successful completion, they can sign that image. So back to the previous example, developer creates an image, it gets scanned in the development pipeline. That successful scan triggers a sign mechanism or a sign object to be created using the operator CRD. This ensures that only approved images will run in the production environments. So only trusted images actually make it through this pipeline.
So for those of you who are interested in learning more about the image signing, image scanning service, we have a number of links here. I'm sure Diane's going to go ahead and share this deck out afterwards, so we'll be able to share that out with the entire community. We have our repository resources. We also have a demo that demonstrates this entire process for image signing and image scanning. We also have some links to some of the tools that are being leveraged during our actual operator logic. Are there any questions? And first and foremost, thank you everyone for the time to be able to demonstrate and talk about some of the work that we've done on the image signing and image scanning service. Thank you.
So I have a quick question for you about ongoing support for this. I know this is in your repo right now, but is there any thought about maybe moving this over into OpenSCAP and asking the community there to work with this and maintain it? And what are your plans for maybe moving this into the community operators?
So definitely looking towards putting into the community operators. Haven't thought a lot about bringing it into the OpenSCAP team yet. You obviously bring a good point there. This has been kind of on the back burner for me personally for some time, but especially as OpenShift is going to be going to a new version in the next few months. This is certainly an area that we want to make sure that we make as compatible as possible for the new ecosystem if there is any changes. Well, fortunately, there shouldn't be, but that is a good opportunity to be able to re-engage and look at the architecture moving forward.
And also for customers who are looking to utilize this, it would be a good opportunity because I know in my environment, we have a lot of issues with identity and whether or not these community products or projects, if Red Hat's willing or companies are willing to absorb any legal risk associated with using that in the production environments.
So there's a whole, and maybe Rob can speak to this a little bit, there's a whole partner program for certifying your operators and all of that, but since this lives and breathes inside of a community of practice group inside of Red Hat, that's the one thing that I would say is that for projects of this nature, which are awesome, and you guys are totally prepared with the slides and everything, and I totally appreciate that. But I have a concern about ongoing support, like as we do release 4.0 and other things like that, like how what the roadmap is there, and if there is adoption at customer sites and along that lines, we can get maybe the customers involved. And it would seem, and maybe it's not appropriate, but I kind of think that the OpenSCAP repo might be a good place for it to live and breathe. If they'd be willing for you to plop it in there and work on it as a community there.
Yeah, we can definitely go ahead and have some of those conversations. I know one area that I know we're going to have to reinvestigate as we go into the 4.0 is the utilization of Docker. I know there's a heavy dependence on Docker right now. So that's one area of improvement and evolution that we're going to have into the 4.0 space.
Yeah, I think that's probably a topic for another day, is moving from your Docker dependencies over to using Podman and Builder and all of the other stuff that comes with Cryo.
Exactly.
Be a good one. Rob, is there any words of wisdom that you want to add in here? We're at the end of all of the presentations that I had built up and collected for today. Go back to sharing my screen.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to say that it's really awesome seeing what people are building. Thank you for sharing some of your operators today. In the chat, we were talking about the Storage OS cluster operator, and so excited to see things like that coming to help folks better take advantage of some of the Kubernetes features around storage, persistent volumes, logging, all that good stuff. There's a really great set of operators underway to help with all that. So we'd love to get those added to our community repos so that everybody can benefit from them and try them out on their cluster.
Cool. And I don't know if Simon is still on, but maybe our next meeting is going to be again on the third Friday of the month, which happens to end on March 15th. So if you're interested in sharing your lessons learned or walking through what your operator does and how to use it, we'd love to have you come and do that. And if you, while you're out there in the Google group or whatever, if you come across one of the operators someone's talking about that you want to hear about, let us know, and I will try and coerce them into sharing their stories and telling you more about it. And again, we had it's in the calendar, but I'll send an announcement to the Google group and post it on the Kubernetes operators about operators for Ansible people, which will be March 6th. So that's the other thing. And operators for Ansible people.
Hi, Diane, it's Simon. Yeah, I should be able to present the Storage OS operator if people would be interested.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Let's see how far we get, and then I'll confirm.
And it doesn't have, and I keep trying to tell people, it doesn't have to be perfect. It can be alpha. And really, I like that you can see there's a wide variety of conversations in the SIG, so don't worry if it's not production ready. What we're really trying to see is what we can learn from each other here. So, and if you need advice or help, just jump on the Google group. I think the link is down below on the page here. I hope, no, probably I didn't. But I'll grab that now. If you haven't joined the Google group, it's right.
A quick
here.
question: is there a meeting invite for the meeting, just so I don't miss it, or is it?
Yeah, I will send you a specific one, but if you go to the over here and throw this in, knowing that, and I post the meetings on events. Here on the Commons, which is the OpenShift Commons community calendar. So it should be, you're seeing my screen. But all of the events that are in all of the other SIGs as well, whether it's the machine learning, telco, and others, all here. And there's an RSS feed that you can subscribe to at somewhere at the bottom. So if you're looking to keep track of everything that Diane is trying to keep track of, it's here. The other thing that I was going to mention today is on March 11th in Santa Clara, there will be a Kubernetes hands-on workshop And let me grab the link for that. And there's also going to be some really interesting, and I don't know where you're based, Simon, but the trainings haven't been listed here, but there's going to be a whole lot of talk about operators in the morning at this OpenShift Commons gathering. And I'm also going to run a parallel track, and in the afternoon from 1 to 4, Michael Rivnak and Matt Dorn are going to repeat the hands-on community Kubernetes Open Operator Framework workshop.
I went to that in London and it was extremely useful, so I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, that's where I recognize that accent from.
I could probably present the ML Flow operator next meeting.
Okay, and that's Zach Hassan. Yeah, I recognize that voice too. Hello.
Okay.
And yeah, that would be great. So there's lots going on. There will also be a hands-on workshop at Red Hat Summit in parallel with the OpenShift Commons gathering there in May as well. And I just keep trying to, wherever I do anything, book an extra room so that we can also do the operator framework workshop too. So look for those announcements and I'll send those out onto the mailing list. But if you haven't signed up, anyone who's on this call and has not signed up for the Google group, please do so. It's really where all of the announcements go out. So there you go. Anything else anyone wants to add? Because I'm 2 minutes away from having to go to another call, so I'm going to let you ask any questions in the Google group or on the Slack channel in Kubernetes operators for real technical conversations too. So please reach out, and thank you all for joining us today. Much appreciated.
Thanks, everyone.
Especially the presenters.
Thank you.
All right, take care all.
Library, I saw 1 or 2 messages into the operators decay Google group where people were trying to do the same. So that's basically why inspired us to create this library. And of course, we'd love people would find it useful and use it for themselves or even contribute to it. Contributions and users always welcome.
All right, are you planning on putting it into the community operator repo by any chance?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. That's down the right path then, I think.